Hello, Draganovich here with a quick Hammer of the Ancients guide. This is a build that I've been playing for a couple of weeks now, and I felt like sharing it just because I've found that it's quite effective in the higher levels of monster power on Inferno. Um, I used to play the Whirlwind Double Tornado build for quite some time, but I found it somewhat lacking in the higher levels of monster power, so I've been messing around with some input from some other players, and after looking at some guides, I've sort of set up a build that works for me. It's certainly not super original. I mean, there's a lot of Hammer of the Ancients guides out there, but this is the one that's been working quite well for me. Let me just jump right into skills and abilities. Just want to let you know this will not be a super in-depth guide. This is more to sort of let you know how I do it, to give you some ideas on how you can incorporate some of these abilities, and to let you know why some of these are a very good choice. It of course depends on your gear level. Um, so for my Fury builder, I've picked up Bash with Punish. The effect, the 8% damage effect that stacks up to 3 times, stacks up quite well with the Hammer of the Ancients. There are some alternatives, of course, to all of these abilities, which I will go over at the end of this. Battle Rage with Into the Fray, very effective ability here for this. You always want some extra fury. Hammer of the Ancients, I've chosen Smash just for the higher damage, and this build is primarily focused on elites and champions, not so much on efficiency when it comes to trash. Rend with Bloodlust. This is basically the ability that will be keeping you alive when you're surrounded. It's very good. Warcry with Invigorate for the extra life and life regeneration, and Wrath of the Berserker would Thrive on Chaos. I think this one speaks for itself. The longer you can have this buff up, the better, especially if you're critting a lot and spending a lot of fury. Ruthlessness and Weapon Master, obviously for the extra damage. If you're using an axe or a hammer, this is definitely a must-have. Inspiring Presence, simply because I use Warcry and Battle Rage. It doubles the duration, and it also adds a nice life regen every time you use Warcry. Um, just to go over my items real quick. My gear is probably mid to high level. It's not godly by any means, but it seems to be working for me, and this works for my budget. The main piece of my setup is a Scorn with life on hit. If you can get any two-hander with life on hit with high weapon damage, as high as you can get, is the best. Is my favorite choice here. Ice Climbers, fairly mid-range item right here, and some rings. I have just basically a mix of crit with crit damage and some attack speed. I have not stacked resistances quite high. As you can see, mine are sort of mid-level. I found that the regeneration from Rend, coupled with the life on hit bonuses that I have on my items, mainly on my ring and my weapon, are enough to keep me alive even in higher monster power levels. I've picked IK Gauntlets and Helm for the 60% resistance bonus, and just in general because they're a very nice piece. If you can find one with attack speed, might be better, but this is the one that I could get for my budget. Tyrael's Might, just for the bonus to damage and the movement speed. Some mediocre depth diggers here that I found myself. Just basically, it's a very generic sort of setup. It's not really stacking for anything in particular. I just put on what I can get basically, and try to build for as much damage and strength as I can. So just to explain and go into kind of how this build works a little bit. Basically, how these play into each other. These abilities play into each other. Is you want to stack up your punish stacks up to 3, and then rend, and then you want to start throwing hammers basically. Now this is at monster power 8. I have been able to run successfully on 10 to farm keys here in Act 1 and 2, but just in the interest of time I've chosen to run this at a lower setting just so I could expedite this video. Now as you can see, Rend can provide a substantial amount of health. Even standing in this poison, it's not really that bad. Now this is obviously an easier champion pack. I will include some footage on me fighting some of the harder champion packs. But in essence, this is how this build works. You jump into the fight, you want to get your Rend going when you're surrounded. Rend is sort of your trash killer in this build. Um, but it really is designed just to have some hard hitting abilities and survivability with Rend. This build has worked very well for me. With the Whirlwind Double Tornado build, I've not been able to run very high monster power level. I sort of get out of my comfort zone when I get to level 6 or 7, and this build has really enabled me to go beyond that and even start going into monster power level 10 for most of my runs. I hope this build has been um, informative for those of you that are looking for an alternative or looking for some ideas on how to incorporate Rend. And thank you for watching. I've included some footage of me fighting some of the higher elite packs, so please enjoy. And let me know in game if you have any questions. So let's discuss some alternatives to this build. For Bash, you have Instigation or Pulverize. Pulverize for AoE, Instigation for some extra fury. For Battle Rage, if you have plenty of fury or cost reducing items, I'd go with Marauder's Rage. For Hammer of the Ancients, I think Smash is really the best here. It just does a lot of damage. It would be a shame not to take that. For Rend, if you have plenty of life-giving items like Life on Hit or Regen, I'd go with Ravage for extra range or Lacerate for the extra damage. For Warcry, you can go with Impunity for more resistances or Hardened Wrath. Wrath of the Berserker, you have the Insanity option. Ruthlessness and Weapon Master, I feel that they're somewhat mandatory for the extra damage, but there are some options here. In the third slot, for instead of Inspiring Presence, you can go with Bloodthirst, or a more defensive way, you can go for Tough as Nails or Nerves of Steel. Even Animosity for extra fury regen, or Juggernaut for some higher levels, especially when you get stunned and slowed a lot. Everything is completely up to you, of course, depending on your gear, your budget, and your personal preference.